Guess what today is, ladies and gentlemen? It's February 4th, which means that Valentine's Day is only 10 days away. Ditch the sampler of chocolates. Forget the very typical flowers. Or you get some flowers, but augment it with something truly special. Delicious Seder infused treats from Sunset Lake Seder. Not only are Sunset Lake's edible Seder products irresistibly tasty, but they're also perfect for setting the mood. Whether you're unwinding together, laughing along with your favorite rom-com, or drifting off into blissful sleep. Flying solo this year? Well, then treat yourself for Valentine's Day. You deserve it. That other person in your life, they weren't. They weren't. It's just for you. Sorry. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Either way, you can enjoy 35% on all of Sunset Lake's edibles when you check out with code Valentine. That includes all single products and some bundles. I can tell you right now, the Seder fudge, delicious, but it also has Seder in it. They've got some, great gummies that are delicious. Check it all out. Good stuff. Hits you in a different way, too.
Yeah. Very relaxing.
First Valentine's Day card was from Worcester, Mass. Just completely not apropos in this moment. Skip the stress of shopping for your Valentine. Head over to sunsetlakesebede.com. Use the code Valentine to save 35% on edibles. The sale ends February 9th at midnight. See their site for additional terms and conditions. Your special somebody is going to thank you. This is a gift that keeps on giving.
Mm-hmm.
sunsetlakesebede.com. Use the code Valentine. 35% off. Now time for the show.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
The destiny of America is always safer in the hands of the people than in the conference rooms of any elite.
Sam Seder.
They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
Ever get the feeling you've been cheated?
It is Tuesday, February 4th, 2025. My name is Sam Seder. This is the 5-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live. Steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, it now appears that Musk has administrative control of the Treasury, administrative read-write control, the Treasury payment system. Meanwhile, that same Republican meme coin czar, Elon Musk, puts USAID agency into a shredder. This as Trump readies the Republican wet dream, destroying and eliminating the Department of Education next. D.C. District Court judge issues a restraining order on Trump's impoundment. This is the third judge to do so. This judge reiterates that the restraining order is national, not just based on the states. Meanwhile, House Minority Leader Jeffries to use the government shutdown in March, the government shutdown vote coming in March, as leverage on that same freeze. Treasury Secretary Bessent has now decided to become the acting head of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and pauses all operations. Trump claims he has cut staff on IRS's new free e-file system. I should say that it's Musk claims he has, but really,
You could just
what's
say
the
the
difference?
president. Just say the president.
The presidents have claimed Meanwhile, Trump caves on Mexico and Canadian tariffs, pretends that their gives hadn't already been given. Meanwhile, Trump to invoke the 1798 Alien Enemies Act, which was last used to create Japanese concentration camps in this country during World War II.
Well, Michael Knoll says that's American, so you can disagree, but maybe you're anti-American.
This will, however, allow him to do mass deportations and a lot of other things. I'll explain. Not right now, though. U.S. readies $1 billion in arms sale to Israel as Bibi Netanyahu visits D.C. The Samoan health chief says that RFK lied about measles deaths. This as Dr. Bill Cassidy, Republican from Louisiana, votes for RFK's nomination out of committee. The National Association of Letter Carriers, you recall we had a couple of folks on about this about a month or so ago. A couple of days ago, they rejected their tentative agreement with the post office. We'll be talking to that same rep sometime next week. Costco and Teamsters avert a strike. And tomorrow, there's a strike in Colorado. What was that strike, Bradley?
King Soopers supermarket for the United
Thousands of
USAID.
supermarket workers are going to go on strike, I think, starting tomorrow. What's that? Thursday. First strike of Donald Trump's second era. All this and more on today's Majority Report. I'm Vigeland.
Hello, it is Newsday Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, we almost chew up the entire time of the show with the headlines. It's a vastly different animal these days.
And that's by design. We know this, right? The Trump administration understands that the more they flood the zone, the more difficult it is to grab onto any one thing. And
Elon's literally
combat them.
saying that we're not going to get a hand this good in a while. We better play our cards now.
We're going to play some of these clips. I mean, from prior to inauguration, all the reporting was they know they only have 2 years. And they are operating as if they're in a getaway car. And it is quite clear from the reporting as we get into this today that, and this is, I think, we speculated about this, but we're seeing it now. And it's still, as much as we had talked about their desire to destroy the administrative state, and the idea that Trump is going to be like, do whatever you want, just give me a taste. We're seeing that right now. The White House doesn't seem to like, they're just like, Elon's being Elon. And I don't think Trump cares, frankly, because, from Trump's perspective, he can't go to jail for anything. Mm-hmm. He's only going to enrich himself extensively. And he's just sort of like, what do they call it? Drafting behind the in a bike riders race. You draft behind. I think that's what he's just doing.
Right.
And so.
And it's not like he has a terrible interest in governing anyway. So he might as well outsource it to a guy that he thinks is smart because he's the richest man on earth. AFC was saying today how she thinks he's maybe the dumbest billionaire that she's ever spoken to. And I don't know. I think that's fairly accurate, but Trump is a dumb guy himself. So, of course, he thinks that Elon's a smart guy.
At the end of the day, like, their intelligence is largely irrelevant in my estimation.
Sure.
Although, we're entering into a period where it's like we're always going to have sort of two hands on all of the way that we assess these things. And we're going to talk about this with the USAID. One of them is like, what's the reality of the situation? And the other is what's strategically the best way to present the situation? Because so much of what we're seeing now is going to rely on the American public caring about stuff that they don't normally care about because of the failure of our political and media class, in my estimation, things that they don't normally care about and really won't understand the impact of until it sort of like filters through the system and actually directly affects them months, if not years down the road. And so we will get to that. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if a billionaire is smart or stupid. They still have the ability to act on a whim and wreak havoc. And now we have the world's richest human being in the history of the world deciding they're going to tear through our government, and no one seems to either want to or know how to stop him. And let's be clear. This is a Republican project. It's just now they have the weapon in which to carry it out.
A one-man wrecking ball who has like this ideological desire and like self-interested desire. He wants to become the world's first trillionaire, and he sees this as his best opportunity to do it. He has this anarcho-capitalist vision, right? It serves perfectly the Republican agenda.
Hundreds of billions of dollars.
And he can stifle any dissent from his own side because he can threaten to use that wealth to threaten anybody who stops him.
It's basically like as if somebody, in this era, if someone had showed up with an army of 3 million people, armed with weapons, except for, this is the way you do it these days. All right, let's, in one of the challenges, obviously, in this particular moment is like, what's the most important thing for people to be watching? And, we're trying to sort of like, parse that out. But as of now, the most dangerous thing, I think, is, what was reported on the show yesterday by a lot of this stuff and some of the reporting. I want to remind you of what he said yesterday on this program when he was talking about what kind of access his reporting at that time yesterday, Monday morning, showed the Muscovites had in Treasury. And when I say these, like we're talking about people who are in their early 20s. And I'm not suggesting that there aren't really smart people in the early 20s, but a lot of great things come out of people in the early 20s. There's a lot of hubris with those type of people. And that can be a good thing.
Or a lot of controllability.
Yeah,
if
they're expendable and controllable.
And they're basically a part of the overall like Peter Thiel, Elon Musk outfit. They're going to be eager to please and do whatever he says.
And I also want to reiterate one of the reasons why, I don't know the names off the top of my head. One of the reasons why we're not naming those names is because Elon Musk has gotten the U.S. attorney from Washington, D.C., to now send letters to any media outlet that is naming these government officials, supposed government officials, or at least who are using government emails.
This free speech? Didn't he take over Twitter for free speech?
Yeah, Trump did an executive order for free speech, I saw Matt Taibbi say.
Well, that's not that free speech. There's a different free speech. Anyways,
to say
here is Tankus yesterday on the show.
Seen anything I've seen, maybe I missed something that came out today. But we know that the anonymous sort of softening, trying to assuage fears is that they only have quote unquote read only access. So they can only look through everything, but they can't change things themselves, allegedly, according to anonymous sources. Whether that is true, whether that holds true, you remember LIBRIC they only got rid of LIBRIC Friday. It's Monday. The state of play is very fluid, so they can be, not have or not choose to try to start changing things, and then they can start trying to change things Wednesday, or, word comes down, that how strong, especially in the context of the original reporting I've done about this, how strong is this alleged idea that Basant, let them in, but only under the condition where it's read only. The other thing I would say about that is that they don't read. The point of looking through the code is to try to change it. That's the point. And so they can propose changes that actually the civil servants in theory would implement. And you can go, well, see, they're still read only. They're kept away from it. But in practice, is the Treasury Secretary going to be the resistance point for inappropriate changes? And I think the answer, the Occam's razor answer with everything we know right now is no. Which also leads to the converse danger that the process that happened with Liebrecht happens iteratively.
So as of this morning, at 8:14 a.m., Jeff Stein reported saying that we now have multiple conflicting reports about what kind of access shitcoin staff has. I'm not using Doge. I guess I have to. Staff has, but that's part of the dilemma, right? Staff has to Treasury's payments. Wall Street Journal and New York Times have said Doge Treasury access is read only. Wall Street Journal cited a person familiar, and New York Times cited a White House spokeswoman. Now, as Tank has said in that, he's a little suspicious of that. But Wired and Tankus today, this being Tuesday, citing conversation with staff, say that's not true and that they crucially have code editing privileges as well. Well, I read now, and Stein has heard conflicting things. I read now from Tankus, who says, since I published my article at 6 a.m. yesterday morning, that would have been Monday, a number of current and former Bureau of Fiscal Service officials have reached out and unfortunately confirmed the accuracy of my reporting. All thought read-only access was extraordinarily dangerous to the country. Unfortunately, my sources also tell me that the subsequent anonymous sources mainstream journalists has reported who worked to downplay the situation are not accurate. Wired beat me to the punch of reporting that a top Doge employee, 25-year-old former SpaceX employee Marco Iles, I guess I'll be arrested,
oh, no,
has not only read but write access to BFS servers. Not only has read but write access to BFS servers. My sources have also independently, and before publication of the Wire article at 1 a.m. today, confirmed their reporting that, and then he semicolons, two of those sources say that Ellis's privileges include the ability not just to read, but to write code on two of the most sensitive systems in the U.S. government, the Payment Automation Manager, PAM, and the Secure Payment System, SPS, at the Bureau of Fiscal Service, BFS. Housed on a top-secret mainframe, these systems control, on a granular level, government payments that in their totality amount to more than a fifth of the U.S. economy. I guess government does make jobs. Additionally, I can exclusively report that while there was initial hesitation from IT leadership, he puts that in quotes, to give them access, they relented. He goes on to write, one source explicitly said they were only reporting to me because there was no one left in the federal government to report security breaches to. You recall one of the first things that the Trump administration did was to fire 18, I think it was, inspector generals. So all the watchdogs of some of the biggest agencies were fired and not replaced.
Yeah, that's who you get transparency from.
One source explicitly said to me they were only reporting to me because there was no one left in the federal government to report security breaches to. This quote, I do not wish to harm my agency in any way. I loved working here. We did some of the most important work in the country and barely anyone knew who we were. In normal times, I would report insider threats to the appropriate security channels inside the government, but there is no one left for me to report it to.
By design.
He goes on to say lawsuits have been launched to stop this on privacy grounds. But we need so much more. Strongly worded letters from Congress are not enough. There is a protest at Treasury today. There's also apparently a 50-state protest, I think at state capitals. I think this is tomorrow. We'll try and find more information on that.
I mean, this in the New York Times reported this a few days ago, and I saw CBS kind of reiterated it this morning. But this could give them, in theory, the ability to halt Medicare and Social Security. I mean, they have been asking for access to the systems that control those payments. They have access to that information. We're going to, talk about this maybe at another point. Hopefully we can get David Dayan on. I know he's busy, but he has a piece about the fact that there's now a lawsuit, thankfully, being levied by, I think it's like groups of public service employees, retirees.
And some labor unions.
Yeah. And government employees. They're basically suing the Treasury because this is a massive privacy violation. This is Elon Musk and his little minions have no more of a right to access the sensitive information about every single American than Sam does, than I do, than Matt does,
Imagine
than
if
Bradley
Hillary Clinton
does.
set up a server and started skimming all this information.
That's the other part. Apparently they're using a private server for this purpose. I'm not hearing dick from the Republicans, but like I just want to be clear about what information is on here. Your social security number, your bank information, home addresses, your medical information, theoretically, your bank information. This is like just essentially an agreed upon mass data breach for every single American. And it's like an almost poetic conclusion, a disastrous one, to the post 9/11 war on terror, loosening of these privacy laws and the unleashing of our tech sector coming together in this like dystopian reality culminating in this year.
The other issue is, of course, like you say, they could get a hold of Social Security payments or Medicare, but they could also prevent any agency they want to not be able to function in a moment. Now, this is assuming they have nefarious intent. Never mind everything they're doing is illicit. Even if you give them the complete benefit of the doubt, like beyond where I would ever do. But I'm going to just stipulate that you are a person who thinks Elon Musk is a genius. He is here. He is our savior. These group of early 20-something engineers, a handful of them, literally, they get the code and they want to try and replace everything with AI, and it's going to make everything more efficient in some fashion. Remember, yesterday, Tankus told us the goal of this system is not efficiency. The goal of this system is resiliency and effectiveness and operations. But let's say they want to put AI in there and replace some of the code for efficiency. You all remember when he did this with Twitter and, you can't search. Oh, it's down for 5 hours. It's all chatbots. Whatever the problem you were having, one episode like that could literally tank our economy. 2 days of outages of the government not being able to pay people. 3 days of outages. Every third payment missed. Whatever it is, could wreak harm of the likes of which we have not experienced. So this is that's why Tankus says this is beyond a 5-alarm fire. We've got a lot more stories that are 5-alarm fires, 4-alarm fires, And this is what it's going to be like for a while. And hopefully, the more people are aware of what's going on, the more we start to see protests. Apparently tomorrow it's at noon, 50 state capitals. Then maybe we can convince some of our leadership, though there's only a limited amount that they can do, to do that limited amount rather than just let's wait until he screws up.
And the Democrats who enabled this sale of TikTok along privacy concerns about the Chinese government having access to our information, I would like you to go stand in a corner, you're in timeout, and think a little bit about your insane hypocrisy. Because we have now elected Donald Trump, who has given the richest man on the planet
vulnerable to Chinese influence because he has business connections there.
And somebody who is absolutely an insane person who just did a Nazi salute at the inauguration, just gave him not just access to information that you would upload to TikTok, access to people's social security number, biometric information, bank information, financial data, all of that. And they have nothing to say about it. Or at the very least, they're not raising hell in the way that they should.
We'll talk more about this. And particularly, when we come back, we're going to talk about the tariffs, and we're going to be talking about what's going on with the USAID agency, and the question of USAID as an agency is going to be a template for questions that we're going to have to ask going forward, and is broadly a good template from how we deal with this administration. But before we do, a couple of words from our sponsor. This actually might be helpful. I was feeling a little ill, and I'm feeling more ill now. Physically, not not so much from a cold, but just from what's going on. I took a couple of shots of my Manacora honey because it's incredibly healthy for you. And it's also the most delicious honey you can ever eat.
And it satisfies your notorious sweet tooth without being bad for you.
You know what? It actually does. I mean, I probably have more than as many teaspoonfuls as I should, but it is incredibly rich. It tastes like caramel. It's ethically produced by Manacora's master beekeepers in the remote forests of New Zealand. Manacora honey contains powerful nutrients which support immunity and gut health. The bees collect the nectar from the Manuka tea tree in New Zealand. I'm a huge tea tree guy. All those toothpicks I chew on half the time are tea tree. I use other ones too, but tea trees in my cycle. The nectar of these is packed with what they call bioactives, and the honey that's produced has 3 times more antioxidants and prebiotics than your average honey. Everybody knows that that honey has that those qualities, but this stuff is like literally supercharged. It has a special antibacterial compound called MGO, which comes from the nectar of that tea tree. Manacora third-party tests every single harvest for MGO and then makes these results available on their QR system and literally on the labels of their honey. You can get some that has even more MGO. It's a game changer. All you need is 1 heaped teaspoon each morning to get the most out of the amazing bioactives. In Manuka, it's great in your tea. It's great on toast. It's great. Ooh, I like honey and apples. I mean, however you eat honey, you're going to find like 10 other uses for this. You can use it, of course, across the day. It's a great substitute for a sweetener, but
off-label, if you sometimes struggle with cold sores, I occasionally get them, maybe once a year. That kind of Manacora honey works for that too.
I see that for skin stuff. Thanks to Manacora for supporting Majority Report. Now it's easier than ever to try Manacora honey head to manacora.com/majority. Get $25 off the starter kit, which comes with an MGO 850 plus Manuka honey jar, 5 honey travel sticks, a wooden spoon, and a guidebook. That's Manacora, MANUKORA.com/majority for $25 off your starter kit. And I can tell you, those little compostable honey sticks, great treats for the kids in their lunch boxes. You don't have to give them as a lunchbox, too. You can just hand it to them. Also sponsoring the program today, we've been talking a lot about your personal data. Do you know how much is already out there on the internet for anybody to see? More than you think. Your name, your contact info, sometimes your social security number, your home address, even information about your family members, all being compiled by data brokers and sold online. Now, data brokers profit off your data. Your data is a commodity. You know this. Anyone on the web can buy your private details. This can lead to identity theft, phishing attempts, harassment, unwanted spam calls. You get those emails. Hey, Sam, your Chase bank account, log in here. And then you're like, wait a second, I don't have a Chase bank account. How do they know my name? How do they know my email? They will compile stuff from different areas and buy it together and then cross-reference it, and they'll build a portfolio on you. For me, I use Delete Me, not just to avoid that kind of stuff, but obviously also because I don't want all my public information out there because, I'm a little bit vocal in public. So I want to thank our today's sponsor for today, our sponsor for today's episode, Delete Me. I will say I've been using Delete Me for probably 6 years now, and they just came to us coincidentally as a sponsor. So that was a no-brainer.
Like 2018, something around that too, before I even started here.
It is
very easy.
Super easy to find personal information. What Delete Me does is you sign up for them, you provide Delete Me with exactly what information you want deleted. Your email address, your phone number, your physical address, whatever. Their experts take it from there. Delete Me sends you regular personalized privacy reports showing what they found, where they found it, and what they removed. And the thing is, Delete Me isn't a one-time service because the data brokers constantly are refilling and adding and growing and this and that. So Delete Me is always working for you, constantly monitoring, constantly removing the personal information you don't want on the internet. Put it simply, Delete Me does all the hard work of wiping you and your family's personal information from data broker websites. Take control of your data. Keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me. Now at a special discount for our listeners today, get 20% off your Delete Me plan by texting majority to 64,000. Text majority to 64,000. That's majority to 64000. Message and data rights apply. See terms for details. We'll put a link in the podcast and YouTube description. All right, let's get back into this on the tariffs. We had booked somebody on the tariffs for tomorrow, in part because we're like, let's see what he does. Because there's going to be, I think, the narrative of at least what we're going to see over the next 6 months is going to be a three-parter. One is Musk and Russell Vought, who will be head of OMB if he gets it confirmed, and he will, they're going to take a wrecking ball to our administrative state, to our government functions. Get rid of all the regulation by getting rid of all the agencies and their capacity to do this work. And the judges that already sit on the federal bench appointed by Trump are going to sign off on this. Trump, meanwhile, is going to do whatever he can to enrich himself. So if that means making fake lawsuits to Meta or to CBS or to whatever and getting money that way, if it means, cutting deals with
pump and dump meme coins.
Pump and dump meme coins. We're going to buy Greenland and sell it to Peter Thiel.
For all those rare earth minerals.
Yes, and whatever. Or for Praxis, They're like little. Have you heard about this? They're utopian, anarcho-libertarian world. Whatever it is,
People are nuts.
we're going to get the Panama. We're going to attack Panama. Whatever it is, he's going to look to enrich himself, and as long as nothing interferes with that, he's going to be fine. And as long as nobody talks about the different deals he has to cut because he's put loyalists in all these positions, he's going to be fine. And the third thing they're going to do is they're going to pretend that they're going to do what they say they were going to do, more broadly, which is we're going to make this place a little bit whiter, a little bit more English speaking, and eventually we get prices down. And this is the way he's going to do it. And the tariff story, and we're going to see this with immigration. They're going to terrorize people. They're going to put 30,000 people into a detention camp in Guantanamo. They're going to do it. And they're going to get rid of, I think, natural born citizenship. We'll talk about that later. But right now, the tariff stuff is a perfect example of him saying, I'm going to levy tariffs on them, and then pretending that he got something. He scared the heck out of Mexico and Canada and got something in return.
But it's funny because I was checking out Sean Hannity's monologue last night, and he is just lauding Donald Trump. Oh, Trump, you have been so successful at shaking down Canada and Mexico with this tariff kind of chest thumping.
Do we have that?
I didn't end up sending it because I feel like it's more funny the contrast though with Laura Ingraham and anybody who is actually viewing this and isn't a Trump sycophant. They say what did they get from them? Oh, Claudia Scheinbaum. She basically said, "Oh yeah, we'll send in what you'll get from me."
Well, here we have it.
All right,
we have it. Because this is what the story is. But do we have that Sean Hannity?
It's my bad. I was just referencing it. Yeah.
The point is, he's being heralded by all of his hornblowers, if you will, his fluffers in the media. We know who these people are, as having, and I think Charlie Kirk had a tweet "We are back, baby. We are back." They supposedly extracted concessions from Mexico and from from Canada. Here is, put this up. This is number 14. Supposedly what they got from Mexico was the deployment of 10,000 troops on the border to protect it. And here is a AP story covering it. Oh, wait a second. I'm sorry. You're confused because Jen Psaki, who I guess is now at MSNBC, is in the picture. But wait, what's she doing at a podium? Oh, this is back when she was a White House spokesperson. Scroll up.
Oh.
Go. No, scroll down. Sorry.
There it is.
April 2021. What? Oh, this is when the Biden administration, without getting tariffs, said, will you put 10,000 more troops on the border? And Mexico said, okay.
Yeah.
We'll do that.
This already happened.
This already happened.
But this
without tanking the markets for a day.
Right. The big concession that he got over tariff from Claudia Sheinbaum. And the thing is that she's not going to be, she's first of all a leftist leader, but she's also coming into office in the last few months with an 80% approval rating. So she's going to be a little bit emboldened to stand up to Donald Trump here. And then what he got from Canada was also even almost more hilariously pathetic. Right, Sam? It was he got that fentanyl czar.
Oh, well, look at this. Here's CNN's Caitlin Collins talking about the concessions that they supposedly got from Canada.
It's ravaged hometowns. Everyone understands the fentanyl crisis, but the amount of fentanyl that comes from Canada is nowhere near the scale of the southern border. A lot of it comes through legal ports of entry. But
pause it. Hold on for 1 second. Actually, it's 1% of the fentanyl in this country comes from the Canadian border, but also we are at the lowest ebb of fentanyl deaths in this country in 10 years. We're at the lowest ebb of ODs. The reason why we had this surge of opioid deaths was a function of Purdue Pharmaceuticals and some pharmacy benefit managers who did not do their jobs, or at least maybe Purdue perceived it as their job, to sell opioids with the claim that it was not addictive. And hundreds of thousands of people, maybe more, got addicted to these substances and then ultimately got cut off and had to go find some other way in which to deal with their addiction. And, but back to this.
The scale of the southern border. A lot of it comes through legal ports of entry. But on this specifically, he called this off, saying that he had won concessions from both of them, but is there a tangible concession in your view?
Yeah, absolutely. He won the concessions, and part of it is
new?
It's a commitment from Trudeau that wasn't there to help with fentanyl, to help with the black market.
Well, he announced the plan
and to secure the border.
He announced that plan though 6 weeks ago, back in December.
Well, at least he's reiterated it and formalized it. And
pause it for a second. Wait, what?
No, that's the end of it. Yeah, that's I guess the Republican representative.
I mean, he reiterated it. He announced that he did it again, and he probably wouldn't have announced that he did it again because why would he have? Because he announced it 6 weeks ago. So Trump, I think, got him to announce something he had already announced, and that's pretty embarrassing.
Reiteration.
It would be very embarrassing for Donald Trump to have been entirely humiliated by Justin Trudeau, who domestically is not doing so well, and by a woman. A woman? Can you put up what I just sent? I mean,
Emma, try and get me to announce that today is December 14th.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it. But Trump got Trudeau to announce something that he announced on December 14th.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Art of the Deal. Look who's the new author. Claudia Sheinbaum. I don't know.
El arte los negocios.
Beautiful. So
here is, despite the fact that literally what Trump got from both Mexico and Canada was something that he had gotten months ago, if not years ago, not that he had gotten them, that had already been gotten. Here is Sean Hannity pretending otherwise. I mean, this is going to be the project. And Trump voters, his base, largely will be super satisfied with this. They're like, we are back, baby. And in the meantime, I don't know if those bottles of Kentucky bourbon or whatever these things that were removed from the shelves in Canada are coming back, at least in the short term. Who knows what damage is happening, long term? Like, I mean, if I'm in Canada right now or I'm in Mexico, somebody in the government has been tasked with, let's draw up some contingencies. America is obviously the biggest consumer in this hemisphere. We're not going to be able to completely replace it, but let's start putting as a priority, building out a little bit more resiliency, because this ding dong is going to try it again. But here is Sean Hannity just trying to convince all the olds watching that this is a big victory.
It was a big day at the White House. In fact, every day is a big day at the Trump White House. The flurry of activity from the Trump administration is unlike anything we've ever seen. It's nothing but shock and awe, and the media melting down, Democrats melting down, which makes it fun. But make no mistake.
Pause it for a second. Incidentally, nothing but shock and awe. Some of you may be too young to understand what that term means, but it was literally the night the first day or two of the George Bush administration bombing Baghdad and Iraq, as close to the Stone Age as they could, killing God knows how mmany people.
I literally remember sitting in my room watching TV, becoming anti-war for the first time.
But he says it as as a celebration. It's fascinating.
Is unlike anything we've ever seen. It's nothing but shock and awe, and the media melting down, Democrats melting down, which makes it fun. But make no mistake, we are witnessing what is a transformational presidency in the making. According to Donald Trump, border crossings now down 93%, and he's only getting started.
93% from what?
24 hours. Mexico caved in the face-off of Trump's tariff threats, agreeing to send 10,000 members of Mexico's National Guard to secure their side of the border, crack down on fentanyl and smuggling and illegal immigration. Canada also caving, little Justin agreeing to list Mexican cartels as terrorist organizations, appointing a fentanyl czar, and participating in a joint strike force to combat crime at our northern border, which is becoming bigger and bigger every day. Keep in mind, along the border in our north, Vermont, New Hampshire, New York, Border Patrol agents, they apprehended nearly 20,000 illegal immigrants from over 97 different countries last year. Now, that number is higher than the past 17 years combined. But now that Canada and Mexico have agreed to start being good neighbors, the tariffs have been paused for 30 days, while more permanent security, economic deals will be negotiated.
And everyone in the nursing home is like, yes, yes, yes. This is he won. He got
what time
nothing.
is Sean? What time is Sean Hannity
8
on? 8 p.m. Huh? What happened on Fox at
or maybe 9 p.m. I think Ingram's now at 7 and he's at 8. If I'm remembering correctly.
So he's at 8, and what happened at 7 p.m.? Something must have happened over the course of that hour. Let's play number 6.
She was less impressed.
Number that nobody's really talking about, and here's what it is. U.S., out of our GDP that we have, we spend 3.4% of it on our military. Our military expenditure is the highest in the world. So we spend around $950 billion, give or take, on military expenditure. Mexico is the lowest in the world, 0.7% of their GDP, which is only $12 billion a year, and Canada is only 1.3%, which is around $27 billion. Why am I sharing this number with you? They don't need to spend it because they have America that's so powerful that who the hell is waking up thinking about attacking Canada or Mexico? So here's my opinion. I think this 25%.
Pause it for 1 second. In the absence of the United States having the not just the world's largest military budget, but twice as large as the rest of the world combined, I think it is. Who's thinking we need to invade Mexico or Canada?
Besides the current
Besides
president.
the United States.
Besides Trump, who we have this tariff thing and this threats to bomb Mexico. That would violate countless treaties, including a trade deal that Trump signed himself while he was in office. These are 2 of our 3 largest trading partners, and he's openly trying to shake them down. Like, as you're saying, this could really damage our relationships with them going forward. But Ingram at least expressed some skepticism, I think, here.
Thinking about attacking Canada or Mexico. So here's my opinion. I think this 25% that they're wanting to remove, I think it needs to stay. Because we're providing you protection, we're providing you safety. There's a reason your military is not that strong. You're using that money to invest into other areas. Why are we doing that? If we're doing that to provide safety to you, I think America should at least have a 25% tax tariff, if you want to call it, regardless of whatever happens, simply for the protection President Trump and the U.S.
Pause it for a second. See the sleight of hand here, though? Why are we doing this? Okay, why are we doing this? Why are we spending this money? If it's not for our benefit, why are we doing it? What, all right, you want a 25% tariff? How about we just reduce our expenditure in the military by whatever number you think that is going to generate for these countries? Because we know that 25% tariff on these countries is going to end up being a tax, a regressive tax, a sales tax. And it's going to hurt middle and low income Americans more than anybody else. So if that's the theory, but then he just switches over to like, oh, we just take it for granted that we need this size of a military. Well, who are we protecting whom from what? Good.
Happens simply for the protection President Trump and the U.S. provides Mexico and Canada.
Yeah, I'm not too impressed with the Canadian response, frankly. I mean, the fentanyls are, I don't know what that's going to do. And I guess they'll have a few helicopters flying at the border. I mean, it's not nothing, but they were going to get slapped with 25% tariffs, and now those are gone for at least 30 days. I'm not sure what's going to happen in 30 days. Maybe some other concessions, but I think President Trump saw a huge negative reaction to this, as I know you predicted, I predicted, from Wall Street, from the markets, from all the establishment types. Do you think he reacted to that? Or maybe some of his advisors said, whoa, we gotta rethink this?
Pause it for a second. For those of you who don't speak Fox News propaganda having to concede some actual reality, that is, Trump caved because all his rich benefactors were like, dude, what are you doing?
Because this is his shakedown tactic. This is what he learned from his dad. It's essentially threaten them, scare them, get what you need out of them. But his
He didn't get anything.
He didn't get anything, but it doesn't matter, right? He needs to be flattered. He wants the phone calls. He wants the respect. It's about this like black hole in his heart that can never be fulfilled and to look tough.
That's what governs it. Is the Financial Times 2 days ago? Trump faces backlash from business as trade war sounds.
I think what happened was this: is that like this idiot actually believed his own dumbness.
Yep.
No one around him said, hey, boss.
They don't pay us tariffs.
Hey, boss, we're not going to be able to replace the income tax.
The IRS.
You're confusing our budget deficit with the trade deficit. These are two different things. Deficit means the same thing, but you apply them in different areas. And nobody's going to say that to Trump. They're just saying, you know what? We're going to have problems with the business community. And Trump's like, okay, I can still make this work. I just lie and say I got what I asked for.
But shaking down his friends and America's allies is something that's actually a crossover from his previous administration.
It may be
the way
case,
he did it with
but
Ukraine.
He didn't get crap because he didn't know what he was doing.
I know, that's what we're saying. I'm agreeing with you.
I will tell you a story about the Apprentice, where my understanding is that, and maybe this is just apocryphal, I'll say that as a, let's say even this is a made up story. But the made up story is that he wanted, what's her name? The
Stormy Daniels.
Stormy Daniels on The Apprentice.
Mm-hmm.
In this made up story.
This made up story. He wanted Stormy Daniels on The Apprentice, and he was adamant. He kept telling the ABC people, I want her, I want her, I want her. And they didn't know how to deal with it. He kept asking for months. And she said that he kept asking her. This is all my made up story. And in this made up story, the ABC executives at one point, they wrote down a piece of number. They wrote down on a piece of paper a number, basically representing the ad sales that they would lose. Because Trump had a piece of this.
NBC,
the ad
you mean?
NBC. It's a made-up story anyway.
Right, yeah.
The number was, and they put it on his desk. They came in and they said, hey, we got a number of what we will lose for the things if you want to go ahead with the Stormy Daniels thing. It's up to you. He looks at the paper, sees the number, crumples it up and says, okay, forget it. That's it.
His version of that is the stock market when they reacted to these tariffs.
Well,
That's the exact same version. It's just him reacting to that and saying, okay, never
It's
mind.
just a number. Never mind. We're going to pretend it was all real.
So John Murphy, Senior Vice President of the Chamber of Commerce, says the president is right to focus on major problems like our broken border and the scourge of fentanyl, but imposition of tariffs won't solve these problems and will only raise prices for American families. Ditto Tom Madrecki.
There's your populism.
Yeah, Consumer Brands Association. Kim Clausen of the Peterson Institute. So yeah, there's the populism.
He's only responding to the money, like always. But he's given the rubes, and they're rubes, definitionally. Absolutely. When you get sold a bill of goods, Sean Hannity's out there. Here it is, folks. Congratulations. You're a rube.
At least Laura Ingram's saying it's stupid, which is true, but
that's
why you got demoted to 7 p.m.,
it's
Laura.
too bad.
Yeah, Ingram wants to, she knows.
What's wrong with her?
Trump.
What's wrong with her?
That's why you're no longer at 10 p.m.
Is there more to this? Let's hear. She says, he didn't really get anything, did he? I mean, a fentanyl czar? That's like, I don't know. You're just basically saying to anybody, like, do you want a job? Yeah, Matt, you're the fentanyl czar in the office. Congratulations.
Almost like getting the opportunity to sell insurance after you've bought insurance from somebody.
Do you think he reacted to that? Or maybe some of his advisors said, whoa, we gotta rethink this?
I think President Trump is a guy that, in my opinion, likes to ask people, what do you think behind closed doors? But at the end of the day, he's a strategist. He's thinking 5, 10, 15 moves ahead. And he knows he has the leverage card. He's going to be pushing his weight around, and he ought to be, because it's about time somebody on America negotiated on our behalf in ways where we're not being taken advantage of. I love the fact that within 5 days, Colombia came out talking as if they're tough at 3:40 a.m. in the morning. He's sending a tweet. Who knows if he was drunk or not? Then you have Panama coming out. Now you got Ukraine, you got Canada, then you got Mexico, and then today Zelensky is talking about the fact that we only got $77 billion, and President Trump is saying, hey, we're going to need some of those minerals if you want to exchange for the money. What he's doing is he's negotiating.
Oh.
And this is a beautiful thing when you have somebody that comes from 50 years on free enterprise, free market. Everything is negotiation.
We don't need that anymore. Yeah, it's a negotiation. He got nothing, and the cost was paid by the businesses.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
He got nothing for America. He got nothing. Zero. But I don't know, those Kentucky whiskey places that you saw, those Canadians taking that stuff off the shelves, maybe some of that comes back, maybe some of it doesn't. But this is the entire Republican ethos. And that is externalize the costs, privatize the profits. And if there's no profits, at least you haven't paid any costs. That was, Patrick Bet-David's business model. That is Donald Trump's business model. That is why they're going to destroy the administrative state. Somebody else will pay the cost, and I will get the upside if there's an upside.
Yep.
That's it.
It must be insane to be like Laura Ingraham and be trying to have a conversation. I mean, how well she's trying to have a conversation about, like, can we actually really get something? And PBD just goes back into the talking points and lists all the different things as if they were just uncategorical.
Let me list a name. Let me list 8 countries. All the things he's talking about. He goes up there and he talks about 8 different countries. You got to give him credit for that. He's thinking 6, 7 years in advance when he's going to be buying an island in the Caribbean and completely free of any legal liabilities. That's all he's, yeah. It is literally, it couldn't be a better example of what is problematic. One of the things that's problematic in the United States, which is like you've got corporations that basically function to enrich a very small group of people at the top of them. Board of directors, CEOs, with no consideration long-term health of the company, no consideration of the other constituencies, the workers, the communities that they live in, none of that. It is just how a handful of people, literally, can enrich themselves by extracting from that company rather than putting anything back into it. And that's exactly what we're watching these guys do with the United States. They're just extracting. They're figuring out different ways of doing it. And what they're doing right now, they are in the process of getting rid of all the safeguards and the guardrails that prevent corporations from extracting the wealth of America. And frankly, on some level, that's like a part of what he's using for leverage here too. They'll extract. I mean, he's going to try and extract from Mexico and Canada. He's going to try and extract from everybody. But what we're seeing with Musk and Russell Vogt and the heart of the Republican Party is, how do we allow corporations to extract more from America and American people?
And if Trump just wants to feel like the big guy in town. So it seems like with Susie Wiles being his chief of staff, there is a understanding with the rest of the Republican apparatus, which includes things like the Heritage Foundation, which were instrumental in crafting Project 2025. And prior to Trump, they were the big dogs in town too with the Republican project, just to bolster Sam's point. They're going to be okay with letting Trump be Trump and having someone manage him so they can still get exactly what they want, even though his antics will be the thing at the forefront.
My bourbon as an industry, which brings in $9 billion a year, is going to take a massive hit. Bashir indicated to our Kentucky lawmakers the other day that we need to put provisions in place to protect them.
Do you think that Pete Hegseth raised alarms internally about this, and that's why the tariffs were reversed?
I think he knows that that maybe they would go up and bourbon prices would go up in the United States, but I'm sure he's already stocked up.
You're right.
Guy has a truck, I think, moving around behind him, like with in a tap. The Chinese tariffs, we'll see what happens on that regard, but that's going to end up costing Americans, and we'll see it in the context of inflation. But we'll see what happens with that. I want to talk about this USAID stuff. Should we do it in the free half or the fun half?
We should just,
All right. This is important.
Important.
What we're watching with the USAID, do we have audio from Musk to get a sense of what's going on? Do we have? Did we get that audio about the? Oh yeah, that's number 2. Okay, yeah, we'll get there. All right, let's start with this because USAID is an interesting place for Musk to start in terms of like shredding an agency. Remember, this is different than what's going on with Treasury. What's going on with Treasury could create a system-wide failure, or could target different agencies, or could target different individuals, or could target different programs. But this is the first agency that Musk is going after. And you got to ask yourself why. And I think the answers are fairly obvious. And then there are some that are a little bit more of a reach. One is, in poll after poll for as long as I've been alive, well, let's just say the past 30 or 40 years, when you ask them, the American public, how much money do we give to foreign aid, they overestimate it by something like 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 times. Like, we give less than 1% of our budget to foreign aid. That's an easy target when you are sitting atop a nationalist movement, right? Like, why are we giving this money to anybody? Now, it's selective. We give it to Israel. Why are we giving it to Ukraine? Why are we giving condoms to Gaza, all made up? Why are we giving condoms or doing HIV stuff to Africa? We're not Africa. The notion of interconnectedness or soft power. I mean, you could ask why China does it. They do it hugely.
And it's creating great successes for them in Africa and in the Middle East right now.
The other reason why you might go after USAID is because, like I say, it's consistent with Republicans' sense of like, why would we give aid to any other country? Is if you know that aid is given as within the context of of soft power to fight against or to compete with, let's say, with China. And maybe you are inclined to have a little more parity between China and U.S. in this, or to have China have a little bit more influence because maybe you have a different relationship with the Chinese government. The third reason why you could do it is that at least parts of USAID have been associated in the past and probably are now with CIA operations. And so you will get some bounce maybe from anti-imperialists. Okay? All of these things make USAID the first target. Like, I mean, honestly, is this where the most waste is? Or is this the one where they can sell it the most?
You can sell a protectionist brand while then also putting Marco Rubio, one of the most hawkish senators in the Republican Party, as the, Secretary of State, for example.
Here is Marco Rubio in 2017. Foreign aid is not charity. We must make sure it is well spent, but it is less than 1% of budget and critical to our national security.
And this is Trump. So this is him probably criticizing Donald Trump. It's 2017, right? He must have just gotten into office.
And look at this down in his book. He wrote, over the last few years, the generosity of the American people has saved the lives of 4 million people in Africa who are suffering from AIDS. I support the program, and it has to be reauthorized this year. I think he's talking about that PREPA program. And then from CBS News this morning, Rubio told reporters that U.S. tax dollars need to further U.S. national interest, and, quote, USAID has a history of sort of ignoring that and deciding there's somehow a global charity. So, Little Marco. Someone's a little thirsty, both literally and metaphorically.
I just remembered that Hannity tried to call Trudeau little Justin. Like, they've got to move past little Marco because now he's Secretary of State.
Okay. So, for a moment, the point of this is not to make an assessment of U.S. aid as an agency. There are people who I respect who see it as a, at least in part, if not largely, a propaganda unit that doesn't necessarily always fight for the best interests and of our best interests. And then there are other aspects of it that surely are helpful to people around the world, which both benefit us in terms of like creating goodwill for the United States, creating stabilization, helping them not starve. There's also moral reasons, but even at a practical level.
Soft power.
Here is Chris Murphy. And then the question becomes, because for me, the issue is Elon Musk and the Trump administration has absolutely zero authority to destroy an agency. If Congress wants to get rid of it, they get rid of it. So I don't care where you fall on that spectrum or where I fall on that spectrum about USAID. The American public needs to be aware that this is wrong. And then the question becomes, how do you do it? Here's how Chris Murphy did it yesterday.
USAID fights terrorist groups all across this world, making sure that we address the underlying causes for a retreat to terrorism. USAID chases China all around the world, making sure that China doesn't monopolize contracts for critical minerals and port infrastructure all around the world. It supports freedom fighters everywhere in this world. Up until yesterday, delivering firewood, for instance, to the brave Ukrainian defenders on the Eastern Front.
I mean, aside from like him having a weird sort of like not, there's some weird lack of charisma there, but putting that aside,
It's called being a senator.
The question is, do you need to glorify USAID to get Americans to pay attention to what is going on and what's wrong about what Elon Musk is doing? Because here's what the other side is doing. They are not touting Elon Musk has the authority to do this. This is what Caroline Leavitt, the new White House spokesperson, is saying about USAID.
And here's the reason why Elon Musk and others have been taking a look. Because if you look at the waste and abuse that has run through USAID over the past several years, these are some of the insane priorities that organization has been spending money on. $1.5 million to advance DEI in Serbia's workplaces, $70,000 for a production of a DEI musical in Ireland, $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia, $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru. I don't know about you, but as an American taxpayer, I don't want my dollars going towards this crap, and I know the American people don't either, and that's exactly what Elon Musk has been tasked by President Trump to do, to get the fraud, waste, and abuse out of our federal government.
Okay, now, that is not fraud. That is not abuse. People can say it's wasteful if they want. But we have a system in which we deal with that. And that is, if the Republicans who control the House and the Senate and the presidency want to get rid of that agency, they should do it the way that it was set up. And I know USAID in particular was created by an executive order, but it has been funded and it exists in its present state now after 60 some odd years of government and congressional appropriations. They should cut off all the aid at Congress. Elon Musk and the president have no authority to go in there and do this. Put up this Ken Klippenstein thing. Contrary to what Leavitt would have you believe, humanitarian assistance is a fraction. Now, these numbers are so tiny, relative, frankly, in terms of 2020, relative to the U.S. government. It's just crazy.
Yep.
And we've done more than humanitarian aid in 2024 in weapons to Israel than we did in humanitarian governance. Presumably, is a hodgepodge of like. Let's decide who exactly. Maybe we should destabilize. I mean, who knows, right? But again, then here's the five with their argument about what USAID is.
Well, you can always judge the deception of something by the name and what the name tries to mislead you into believing. USAID is not about aid any more than the Marx Brothers wrote the Communist Manifesto. It's
okay,
just
I'm sorry.
the name.
I'm sorry. So dumb. It's actually an acronym, much like Doge. Which one makes more sense? The other one's pretty stupid, and it's based on like a 5-year-old meme about a dog. This is actually about the aid that the United States provides. But if we want to go after acronyms, I think there's some dumber ones we can go at right now. Keep going.
I remember the Clean Skies Act under the Bush administration. So there's some truth in what he's saying. But go ahead.
Enduring freedom.
Any more than the Marx Brothers wrote the Communist Manifesto. It's just
we report,
the name,
you decide.
but it tricks you. And if you're lazy like me, you just assume, oh, it's all about aid. The beauty of this new administration is that it forces you to learn about stuff that you didn't really want to. Like, I didn't know what a de minimis loophole was. It sounds like a cross stitch or something, but it's like a huge deal. It's a massive deal for small businesses because China ships 1.4 billion packages, through this loophole that are made under sweatshops for very low money. That stops. USAID, if you read about it, it's basically seems to me like it's a front group that gives money to groups to do things that our government can't do directly.
Right.
So it sounds a lot like NGOs and illegal immigration. All that money was going there. And if you look at what they're connected to, you find out that
the
USAID...
money was going to illegal immigration? How does that work? Unbelievable. Yeah, it's going to non-governmental organizations. Incidentally, Marco Rubio has said that we're going to replace a lot of these functions with private contractors.
That's it. I mean,
yeah, guess what, folks? Those are also non-governmental organizations. They just happen to be for-profit ones.
Tim Sharrock has been talking about this for a long time. What we've been seeing over the past decades is a privatization of intelligence. That's what we're seeing now. So all of these sort of attack on, the intelligence cut and the covert activity that takes place in USAID, that's Peter Thiel and all these people saying, we're going to bring that into
yes, we're getting there. Let's just hear it.
Immigration, all that money was going there. And if you look at what they're connected to, you find out that USAID also doubles back into our country, whether it's Soros-funded prosecutors. Of course, the worst thing, EcoHealth Alliance, which was behind the COVID virus, and perhaps the pro-Hamas protesters who we're still trying to figure out the money. So I like to look at who's complaining.
So, okay, that's really it. I mean, but like, I love that. The Trump administration is so educational, allows you to go down all these wormholes where you learn about stuff, do your own research, and maybe that money's going to Hamas supporters. We don't really know. Those protests on college campuses, that was probably USAID, and he'll just throw that out there.
The amazing thing is he forgot about the flooding in North Carolina and the wildfires in LA. He didn't even really get to that part.
So the Soros prosecutors, that means that the money went to Soros, then Soros donated it back, and now it's in Larry Krasner's pocket. So is USAID helping all of these foreign entities and terrorists, or is it just coming back home no matter what? I mean, pick a lane.
The point of all of this is not to debate USAID's functioning. If the U.S. government and if the Republicans in the House and the Senate were sincere about rolling back USAID because of all of these problems with it, then they would just pass a bill and Donald Trump would sign it and there'd be some transparency about this process. But what they want to do is they want to tear down the administrative state. And they will replace it with either nothing or private contractors. You're not going to, if you are somebody who believes that getting rid of the U.S. aid is going to somehow defang the CIA, you're only right insofar as it's going to be Palantir, whose stock incidentally went up today significantly. Yeah. You're only going to see Palantir or Jay or whatever they call, Prince's outfit. You're only going to see these private spies take their place. And if you are somebody who thinks that it's supporting too much DEI or Hamas protesters in colleges or whatever the fantasy you have, what this is really about, and I think the contracting is is just like one of those things that's going to appease a certain group of people. This is about deconstructing other agencies. Here is Elon Musk last night at 1 a.m. with Vivek at a Twitter Spaces event, sort of giving their this is their evening circle jerk, where they talk about what they're really up to.
I think in addition to that executive order, which I certainly applaud, I think we need to go in and do wholesale removal of regulations. Like regulations basically should be default gone. Default gone, not default there, default gone. And if it turns out that we missed the mark on a regulation, we always add it back in. These regulations are added willy-nilly all the time. So we just got to do wholesale spring cleaning of regulation and get the government off the backs of everyday Americans so people can get things done. And the government doesn't have a sort of boot on the neck of the average American.
Okay, I'm sorry. I held off as long as I could. You don't know anything. He doesn't know anything. He doesn't know anything about our government. He doesn't know how it works. He doesn't care how it works. He doesn't know about our regulations. He doesn't know how they come to being. He doesn't know how our agencies work. All he knows is big hammer smash. I don't like this. I want to be able to loot and get to my trillionaire number at the beginning, like as soon as possible. And as much as I can break up of this government and this apparatus that's there to deliver for regular people, the better it gets. Because when he says like these regulations are burdensome on regular people, point to one regulation that's burdensome on regular people. I don't know, like building codes so houses don't fall on top of people, water regulations so it doesn't poison people, meat processing regulations so that disease doesn't spread in our food. Point to the regulations you're talking about, because the one that I'm hearing about recently has to do with our air traffic controllers and the FAA, because you were bitching because of like a $700,000 fine that the FAA levied at you because you decided to launch your toys into space without the proper authorization, and then you're saying that regular people are going to have to deal with that kind of oversight. No, that's you. So let's not democratize your narcissism. What a freak!
I think he knows exactly what he's talking about because he's lying.
I get it.
He knows it's not on the American
it's a
public.
lie.
This is the game that they're playing. They describe it as if like regulations. No, what regulations do the exact opposite. They protect the average American. They protect their food supply. They protect their air, their water. They keep them from getting cancer so that companies can profit by cutting costs and offloading that expense on them. And so this is all about that. And they're going to do this systematically. They're starting with what they perceive the low-hanging fruit is, USAID, and they have announced today they're going after the Department of Education. And the Department of Education is essentially what the radical Republicans started in Reconstruction, because they understood that the importance of helping freed slaves get educated so they could be full citizens. And make no mistake, the Republicans, following 1965, essentially, the people who were against this, the Dixiecrats, the Democrats in 1867, who are now Republicans, it's their legacy, they are against this because it is still coded that way, because the Department of Education goes in and makes sure that there is at least some attempt at parity for schools. And they're going to take out the Department of Education. That's next. This is all completely illegal, illicit. And so they'll make it a debate about the value of USAID. And you can fall into that trap and say it's a front for the CIA. Well, then if it is, and I think there's no doubt in my mind that part of USAID is dedicated towards influencing at various ways other people's governments and a long history, and I'm against that. I'm against it when we do it. I'm against it when other countries do it. I don't believe that we should have a country without an intelligence agency. The question is, do we do this transparently and do we bring about reform? That's an entirely different question than whether the way you get rid of USAID is by having a billionaire go in there and destroy that as a model for what they're planning to do with the Department of Education, and then they're going to do with the EPA, and then they're going to do with the FDA, and then they're going to do with the SEC, and they're going to do with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and they're just going to go one by one by one. This is week 2 now.
Yeah, I mean, just to stick to the intelligence thing, Peter Thiel was on Joe Rogan last year. Said, quote, "I think the deep state has become so much less of a threat to us in the last 50 years. I think you had the church committee hearings in the late 70s and somehow things got exposed. And then when bureaucracy is forced to be formalized, it probably becomes a lot less functional." That's Peter Thiel saying the church committee, which revealed assassinations of Castro, Trujillo, Lumumba, the COINTELPRO, Project Mockingbird, other MK Ultra. He doesn't like that created some sort of oversight over what the CIA was doing. And ever since the Church Committee, they have been looking to privatize more and more of these intelligence agencies. That's why Edward Snowden was a private contractor. This is a long-term trend that they are accelerating because Palantir is ready to eat it up right now.
Creates plausible deniability. That's what all of this stuff does. When you privatize it and you make it outsource it to a third party, it's the same thing with Blackwater,
Zero oversight.
as Sam was saying earlier.
Now, I will say on the end of that, like I saw an interesting exchange about how do you fight back against this? Like, how do you message this? Do you go out there like Murphy and say, like, you know, China is going to gain on us, which, you know, I think they will in some ways that are like, they're going to be more benevolent than us. And they're also going to be, their intelligence agencies don't have the same checks or any more than ours do.
Well, the Biden administration tried this China competition stuff and it failed miserably. So maybe he should go a different direction.
It's unclear to me, I have to say. But like, because if you get out there and say what Elon Musk is doing is wrong and you talk about a process game, you're going to put a lot of people to sleep.
No, you talk about what America is supposed to be in the world. And like, we know that functionally America operates as an empire that has been responsible for the massacre of millions of people, specifically like in the 20th century and on. But you, as a Democrat, you sell a positive vision of immigration. Immigration is what makes this country great. We look at the Statue of Liberty and what it represents. You sell it as a patriotic, idealized vision in the same way that you can sell USAID. The United States should be responsible for making the world better so we have partners and friends and not much conflict. Not this, like, that's how you sell it.
But do you sell, okay.
I want to compete with
but
China.
Do you sell it based upon the merits of the agency or the illicitness of eliminating agencies? Like, do you make this about USAID, which leaves the door open for another agency to be attacked because it's got, you know, whatever, waste or abuse or whatever? Or do you say, this is not how our government functions? Republicans are failing. They want to get rid of agencies because they want to leave us, essentially the American public, without any protections. I don't know.
I agree with the second part. I think that maybe USAID is not the thing that we hinge it on, but you make it a broader point to make it about USAID. And then when they go after the Department of Education, that's what you make it about. Unelected billionaires are accessing your Social Security and your bank information right now. I don't know. But like, I mean, this is our central question.
Yep.
Like,
how do you message that?
How do we message this?
We'll have a better
The Democrats
sense.
should figure it out. I mean, they could figure it out and come together on something.
Or you could A/B test it and see which one does better, because we're going to have plenty of opportunities.
What's most important here is that the consultants still stay employed.
We will, we will see. But this is the dilemma. And at the very least, people should be out there doing both. You know, nobody should be doing none of it. And I do think, it is unhelpful to argue that it's okay for what Musk is doing because of what the agency has been up to.
Yep, agreed.
I think it's perfectly fine to say USAID needs to be curtailed because it's doing illicit stuff, but it needs to be done through Congress. And it's a hard sell to make to people. But the problem is that if you okay the process in which is going on here, if you actively okay the process, you're inviting this to happen to agencies that are unequivocally good. I mean, to the extent that anything is unequivocally good, whose mission is unequivocally good.
It's a big degradation that we went from an ability to have something like the Church Committee to whatever this Doge thing is, where we don't even address any of this stuff. And it's
Elon Musk doesn't give a goddamn about the CIA interfering in any other elections. And to the extent that he does, it would only be at the behest of someone who's paying him more.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, we will coup whoever we want, guy.
Right.
Lastly, Null Fun F says, I work for a Canadian company that buys some colorants and fragrances from American firms, and we had meetings today about switching to Canadian suppliers, even if the tariffs were called off for the moment. So much trust and goodwill has been lost. And who's going to pay for this?
Yep.
Those small companies, their employees, their communities.
That's why Jamie Dimon doesn't care about this. The big guys at the top are going to actually benefit from the turmoil.
what do we call it? Disaster capitalism.
Yep.
We call it the shock doctrine.
All right, we got a lot more to talk about. We went very long today. Just a reminder, you can support this program by becoming a member at jointhemajorityreport.com. Check out Google state capitol protest. There's some at noon tomorrow at every state capitol around the country, as far as I know. It's worthwhile just like Googling protests this week. Just doing that for now.
There's a good one outside NYU Langone Hospital, of course, owned by Ken Langone. So maybe we shouldn't have billionaires owning our hospitals. But anyway, they are backing off trans care, and there's 1,000 people out there protesting last night.
Protests are not going to be enough, but it's not a bad thing to do because going out there and protesting signals to other people that there are other people who are concerned about this. It helps people feel less alone.
It connects people.
It connects people, and it begins to organize, and it's inspiring to people. So while protest is insufficient, it is at least partially necessary, or it is helpful. Yeah. Let's put it that way. It is definitely insufficient, but it is helpful. Organizations get born out of these type of things. So
we just do our regulations willy-nilly.
You can check out the 50501 subreddit for info on protests too. Also, the Discord. Folks, majoritydiscord.com. If you ever have a question about anything, we've got over 12,000, 13,000 people in the Discord now. majoritydiscord.com. It's a great place to go and ask. People are very friendly there. And all sorts of conversations, but it's going to be an important hub to hear about protests and whatnot. Maybe we should even have a protest Discord where people can go in and post in their Discord protests. Again, if you want to support this program, join themajorityreport.com. Also, justcoffee.coop, Fair Trade Coffee, hot chocolate. They're a co-op in Madison, Wisconsin. They're very supportive of their suppliers. Just a great company and great coffee. And you can get the Majority Report blend, whatever. Use the coupon code Majority, get 10% off. Also, we have Twitch chat. We have Pogger's emoji of anime women with animal ears. It says hack all things. So there you go.
All right.
Emma, ESPN.
ESPN, Bradley and I will be back on Thursday. We'll talk about the Super Bowl, preview that big episode, and then we'll also talk about obviously the Luka Doncic trade and the ripple effects and some of the theories about that. YouTube.com/ESPN show.
Matt.
Yeah, tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern, Alexander Avina. You've seen him at the foreign exchanges and also all over American Prestige episodes, talking about Scheinbaum versus Trump and probably some of this USAID stuff. 7 o'clock Eastern, patreon.com/leftreckoning.
What the F does it take? Sam, we can say that at least protesting provides the reaction shot. Yes, indeed.
I mean, yeah,
it
it's going to have to come from somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
And especially when these tech overlords own our communications platforms and are deciding via algorithms what we see and don't see.
And we have U.S. attorneys who are threatening people for exposing supposed government workers. Exposing by reporting on who's basically all of a sudden in charge of running our country's payment system. All right, see you in the fun half.
You are in for it.
All right, folks, 646-257-3920. See you in the fun half.
Are you ready?
Who sent us this?
Alpha males are back. Boy is back. And the alpha males are back.
Just as delicious as you could imagine.
The alpha males are back. Boy is back. And the alpha males are back.
Just wanna degrade the white man.
Alpha males are back.
I take all of it to my throat.
Alpha males are back.
Snowflake says what?
The alpha males are back.
You are a madman!
And the alpha males are back.
Oh no, Sam Seder, what a fucking nightmare!
Bring back DJ.
Yeah, or a couple of them, just put them in rotation.
DJ Danner.
Well, the problem with those is they're like 45 seconds long, so I don't know if they're enough of a break.
That's fucking nonsense.
You see white people doing drugs, they look worse than normal white people, and all white people look disgusting.
And the alpha males.
Psych. Fuck them. Snowflake says what? Snowflake says what?
A hell of a lot of bank. A hell of a lot of bank. A hell of a lot of bank. Okay, I'm making stupid money. Hell of a lot of bank. A hell of a lot of bank.